You react to everything. React to criticism. React to disrespect. React to provocation. React to insult. React to rejection. React to attack. React to everything instantly. This reactivity is destroying your power, destroying your respect, destroying your relationships, destroying your peace, destroying your success. That is the key. Reaction creates weakness. Weakness invites exploitation. Exploitation creates suffering. Triggers control you. Emotions hijack you. Impulses dominate you. But trigger mastery creates power, creates control, creates peace, creates respect. This audiobook teaches trigger identification, the psychology of emotional hijacking, the neuroscience of reaction control, the practical methods of response mastery. Stop reacting to triggers instantly. Start mastering emotional control systematically. Identify your triggers. Understand your patterns. Control your responses. Beginning now. Chapter 1. You are emotionally hijacked. Recognize trigger control. You are emotionally hijacked. Hijacked constantly. Hijacked repeatedly. Hijacked automatically. Hijacked destructively. Triggers control your life. Control your reactions. Control your emotions. Control your responses. Control your behavior. Control your relationships. Control your peace. Control your power. Through automatic reactions. Through instant responses. Through emotional explosions. Through destructive behavior. Through relationship damage. Someone criticizes you. You react defensively. You attack back. You justify yourself. You prove them wrong. You destroy the relationship. Someone disrespects you. You react angrily. You retaliate immediately. You seek revenge. You escalate conflict. You lose your dignity. Someone rejects you. You react with withdrawal. You shut down completely. You avoid them forever. You carry resentment. You lose the opportunity. Someone insults you. You react with counterattack. You insult them back. You escalate the fight. You damage your reputation. You lose your power. These instant reactions destroy everything. Destroy your power. Destroy your respect. Destroy your relationships. Destroy your peace. Destroy your success. Destroy your dignity. Destroy your future. That is the key. Reactivity signals weakness. Signals lack of control. Signals emotional immaturity. Signals vulnerability. Signals exploitability. People see your triggers. See your buttons. See your vulnerabilities. Then push them. Push them intentionally. Push them repeatedly. Push them to control you. Push them to manipulate you. Push them to defeat you. Your predictable reactions make you controllable, make you manipulable, make you exploitable, make you weak, make you powerless. Consider emotional hijacking mechanism specifically. Consider trigger process. Consider reaction pattern. Consider control loss. Consider power destruction. Emotional hijacking is automatic, is unconscious, is instant, is destructive, is controllable once understood. Trigger occurs. Someone criticizes your work. Immediately, within 0.2 seconds, your amygdala activates. Amygdala is brain's alarm system. Detects threats. Activates survival response. Fight or flight. Before you think. Before you choose. Before you decide. Automatically, amygdala activation floods your system with stress hormones. With cortisol. With adrenaline. With norepinephrine. These hormones prepare you for physical survival. Increase heart rate. Tense muscles. Sharpen focus. Shut down rational thinking. This is hijacking. Your rational brain, your prefrontal cortex, goes offline. Your emotional brain, your limbic system, takes control. You become reactive animal, no longer thinking human. You react automatically, defensively, angrily, destructively, without thought, without choice, without control. This happens in seconds. Trigger to hijacking to reaction. Automatic, unconscious, destructive. Then comes regret. After reaction, after damage, after destruction, you think, Why did I say that? Why did I react that way? Why couldn't I control myself? Because you were hijacked. Your amygdala controlled you. Your triggers controlled you. Your reactions controlled you. Not you controlling yourself. Triggers control reactions. Reactions destroy power. Master triggers or remain controlled forever. Common triggers that hijack most people universally. Criticism of competence. You're not good at this. Your work is inadequate. You failed. These trigger defensive anger. Trigger justification. Trigger proving. Trigger counterattack. Public disrespect. Being dismissed. Being ignored. Being belittled. Being mocked. These trigger retaliation anger. Trigger revenge seeking. Trigger face saving. Trigger escalation. Boundary violations. Someone invading your space. Someone interrupting constantly. Someone demanding inappropriately. Someone taking advantage. These trigger protective anger. Trigger pushback. Trigger assertion. Trigger conflict. Perceived injustice. Being treated unfairly. Being blamed wrongly. Being judged incorrectly. Being accused falsely. These trigger righteous anger. Trigger defending. Trigger explaining. Trigger proving innocence. Feeling dismissed. Your opinion ignored. Your contribution unrecognized. Your value unappreciated. Your presence unacknowledged. These trigger validation seeking. Trigger attention demanding. Trigger worth proving. Trigger approval chasing. These triggers are universal. Affect everyone. Hijack most people. Create automatic reactions. Destroy power constantly. But affect individuals differently. Based on personal history. Based on past wounds. Based on core insecurities. Based on deep fears. What triggers you intensely barely affects others. What others react to strongly, you ignore easily. Because triggers are personal, are individual, are unique to your story. Understanding that triggers control you is first step, is essential step, is foundation step, is transformation beginning. Cannot master what you don't recognize. Cannot control what you don't understand. Cannot change what you don't acknowledge. Must recognize trigger control completely. Must accept hijacking reality honestly. Must see reaction patterns clearly. Recognition exercise for this week. Track your reactions daily. Every time you react emotionally. Every time you feel hijacked. Every time you lose control. Every time you regret response. Write it down. Document specifically what happened, what was said, what was done, who was involved, what emotion arose, how intense was it. Rate 1 to 10. What did you do? What did you say? What happened after? What was the consequence? Do this for 1 week. 7 days of tracking. Complete documentation. Honest recording. This tracking reveals patterns. Reveals your triggers clearly. Shows what hijacks you most. Shows who can push your buttons. Shows when you're most vulnerable. Shows how often hijacking happens. Most people discover they react 20 to 40 times weekly, have 5 to 7 main triggers. Certain people trigger them easily. Tiredness increases vulnerability. Hunger amplifies reactions. Stress reduces control. This recognition is powerful, is enlightening, is transformative. Cannot change what you don't see. Cannot master what you don't track. Cannot control what you don't recognize. After tracking 1 week, analyze patterns completely. What are your top 5 triggers? What makes you react most intensely? Who can push your buttons easily? When are you most vulnerable to hijacking? What time of day? What emotional state? What physical condition? What situations create most reactivity? Work situations? Relationship situations? Family situations? Social situations? These patterns reveal your trigger landscape. Reveal your vulnerability map. Reveal your control challenges. Reveal your mastery opportunities. Understanding your triggers transforms them. Transforms from mysterious forces controlling you into recognizable patterns you can manage. From invisible enemies attacking you into visible teachers instructing you. From uncontrollable reactions into manageable responses. This transformation begins with recognition, with honest seeing, with complete acknowledgement, with brutal acceptance. You are emotionally hijacked. Triggers control you. Reactions destroy your power. This is current reality. This is present state. This is today's truth. But this is changeable, is transformable, is masterable through recognition, through understanding, through practice, through commitment, through permanent dedication to trigger mastery that freedom requires. Triggers control reactions. Reactions destroy power. Master triggers or remain controlled forever. You understand now that emotional hijacking is automatic through trigger activation. You understand that triggers are personal through individual history and wounds. You understand that recognition is essential through honest tracking and pattern analysis. Stop denying trigger control. Start recognizing hijacking patterns. Stop pretending you're always in control. Start acknowledging when triggers control you. Stop avoiding uncomfortable truth. Start accepting hijacking reality. Track your reactions this week. Every emotional reaction, every hijacked moment, every regretted response. Document what happened. Document your reaction. Document the outcome. After 1 week, review completely. Identify your top triggers. Recognize your patterns. See your vulnerabilities. Accept your current reality. This recognition is power. This acknowledgement is foundation. This acceptance is transformation beginning. Your trigger mastery awaits recognition. Your emotional control awaits acknowledgement. Your response freedom awaits acceptance. Recognize hijacking now. Track reactions completely. Master triggers through recognition starting today. You recognize hijacking now. Next, you must understand the process. Chapter 2. Understand the hijacking process, the 90-second window. Emotional hijacking follows predictable pattern, predictable neuroscience pattern, predictable biological pattern, predictable chemical pattern, predictable timeline pattern. Understanding this pattern creates intervention opportunity, creates control possibility, creates mastery potential, creates freedom pathway. The pattern is universal, is mechanical, is automatic, is biological, is scientific, happens same way every time, in every person, in every hijacking, in every trigger event. Understanding the pattern reveals intervention points, reveals control moments, reveals choice opportunities, reveals mastery windows. The hijacking process has stages, has sequence, has timeline, has chemistry, has neuroscience. Stage 1, trigger occurs. Someone criticizes you. Someone disrespects you. Someone rejects you. Someone insults you. Trigger happens. External event occurs. Stage 2, amygdala activates. Within 0.2 seconds, 0.2 seconds, faster than conscious thought, faster than rational processing, faster than decision-making. Your amygdala detects threat. Sounds alarm. Activates survival response. Before you know it, before you think, before you choose. Stage 3, stress hormones flood. Cortisol releases. Adrenaline dumps. Norepinephrine surges. Your system floods with chemicals, with survival chemistry, with emergency response. Stage 4, prefrontal cortex shuts down. Your rational brain goes offline. Your thinking brain stops functioning. Your decision-making capacity disappears. Your impulse control vanishes. Stage 5, automatic reaction executes. You attack back. You defend yourself. You withdraw completely. You explode angrily. Reaction happens automatically, without thought, without choice, without control. Stage 6, regret follows. After reaction, after damage, after destruction, you think clearly again. You see consequences. You regret reaction. Too late. This entire process happens fast, happens automatically, happens unconsciously. From trigger to reaction in seconds. Maybe 2 seconds. Maybe 5 seconds. Maybe 10 seconds. But the critical timeline is 90 seconds. 90 seconds is the key, is the window, is the opportunity. Is the control point? Is a mastery moment? Neurochemical research by Jill Bolt Taylor shows emotional neurochemical flooding peaks at 90 seconds. Stress hormones surge immediately after trigger. Flood your system completely. Dominate your biology. Control your body. But then, if not re-triggered, if not reactivated, if not fed by continued thoughts, the chemicals begin subsiding, begin decreasing, begin dissipating, begin clearing. After 90 seconds, the 90-second window is critical, is essential, is powerful, is transformative, is masterable. Within 90 seconds, if you don't re-trigger yourself, if you don't feed the reaction, if you don't escalate the emotion, the hijacking begins ending. The chemistry begins clearing. The rational brain begins returning. The control begins restoring. But most people re-trigger constantly. Re-trigger through thoughts, through rumination, through replaying, through imagining, through storytelling. You get triggered. Chemistry floods. Then you think, how dare they say that? Re-trigger. Who do they think they are? Re-trigger. I'll show them. Re-trigger. They always do this. Re-trigger. Each thought releases new chemicals, extends the hijacking, prolongs the reaction, maintains the flood, prevents the clearing. Hijacking lasts 90 seconds. Intervention stops reaction. Recognize the window or lose control. Understanding 90-second window creates intervention strategy, creates control method, creates mastery technique. The strategy is simple but powerful. Survive the 90 seconds without reacting, without speaking, without acting, without deciding, without responding. Just survive the window. Let the chemistry peak. Let the hormones flood. Let the system activate. But don't react during flooding. Don't respond during peak. Don't act during hijacking. Wait. Pause. Breathe. Survive. The 90 seconds. After 90 seconds, chemistry begins clearing. Rational thinking begins returning. Impulse control begins restoring. Choice becomes possible. Control becomes available. Mastery becomes achievable. Then respond. Then decide. Then act. Then speak. After the window. After the clearing. After the return. From rational brain. From thinking mind. From controlled self. Not from hijacked reaction. Not from flooded emotion. Not from automatic impulse. This waiting transforms everything. Transforms reactions into responses. Transforms hijacking into control. Transforms automatic into deliberate. Transforms destruction into mastery. Recognizing physical sensations of hijacking is critical, is essential, is early warning system, is intervention signal, is control opportunity. The sensations are your alarm, your notification, your warning, your chance. Before full hijacking, before complete flooding, before total reaction, your body signals hijacking beginning. Signals clearly, signals physically, signals recognizably. If you pay attention, if you notice, if you recognize. Physical hijacking signals include increased heart rate, pounding in chest, rapid heartbeat, chest tightness, shallow breathing, rapid breathing, breath holding, breathing difficulty, muscle tension, jaw clenching, fist clenching, shoulder tightening, stomach knotting, face flushing, heat rising, blood rushing, temperature increasing, tunnel vision, focus narrowing, peripheral vision loss, target fixation, racing thoughts, mind spinning, thought acceleration, mental chaos. These sensations are early warning, our intervention opportunity, our control moment, our mastery chance. When you notice these sensations, you catch hijacking early, before full flood, before complete reaction, before total control loss. This noticing creates intervention possibility, creates pause opportunity, creates 90-second survival chance, creates control restoration, creates mastery achievement. Practicing sensation recognition requires daily attention, requires body awareness, requires mindfulness, requires present moment focus. Most people live disconnected from body, disconnected from sensations, disconnected from signals, disconnected from warnings. Must reconnect, must notice, must feel, must sense, must attend. Daily practice, body scan meditation, 5 minutes morning, sit quietly, scan your body systematically, notice all sensations without judgment, just noticing, just feeling, just sensing. This practice builds awareness, builds sensation recognition, builds body connection, builds signal noticing, builds hijacking detection. After weeks of practice, you recognize hijacking signals immediately, automatically, clearly, powerfully. You feel heart rate increase, hijacking beginning. You notice breath shallowing. You recognize trigger activated. You sense muscles tensing. You understand response needed. You catch flushing starting. You realize 90 seconds survival required. This recognition is power, is control, is mastery, is freedom, enables intervention, enables survival, enables response choice, enables control restoration within a 90-second window, before automatic reaction, before destructive response, before regrettable behavior, before relationship damage, before power loss. Understanding hijacking neuroscience empowers you, empowers completely, empowers transformatively. Knowing the process isn't mysterious magic, isn't personal weakness, isn't character flaw, isn't permanent condition, is biological process, is chemical reaction, is neurological pattern, is manageable mechanism, is controllable system. Your amygdala evolved for survival, for physical threat detection, for immediate danger response, for life or death situations. Worked perfectly for ancestors. Tiger attacks, run immediately. Enemy threatens, fight now. Physical danger, react instantly. No thinking needed. No decision required. Automatic survival. But modern life different. Modern threats, psychological. Social threats. Emotional threats. Reputation threats. Relationship threats. Not physical. Not life-threatening. Not survival requiring. But amygdala doesn't distinguish, doesn't differentiate, doesn't discriminate, treats criticism like tiger attack, treats disrespect like enemy threat, treats rejection like life danger, activates same response, same flooding, same hijacking, inappropriate for situation, destructive to relationships, damaging to reputation, costly to success. Understanding this mismatch creates compassion, creates patience, creates persistence. With yourself, you're not weak, not flawed, not broken, not defective. You're human, with ancient brain, in modern world, managing evolutionary mismatch, through understanding, through practice, through commitment, through 90-second survival. Hijacking lasts 90 seconds. Intervention stops reaction. Recognize the window or lose control. You understand now that hijacking follows predictable pattern through biological process. You understand that 90-second window is critical through neurochemical timeline. You understand that physical sensations signal hijacking through early warning system. Stop letting hijacking complete automatically. Start interrupting within 90-second window. Stop reacting during chemical flooding. Start surviving until chemistry clears. Stop missing physical warning signals. Start recognizing sensations immediately. Practice body awareness daily. 5-minute body scan morning. Notice sensations throughout day. Recognize hijacking signals when they appear. When triggered next time, notice physical sensations immediately. Pause all response for 90 seconds. Breathe deeply and slowly. Let chemistry peak and begin clearing, then respond deliberately from rational brain. This transforms hijacking into control. This changes automatic into deliberate. This converts destruction into mastery. Your control awaits window recognition. Your mastery awaits 90-second survival. Your freedom awaits intervention practice. Understand the process now. Survive the window. Master reactions through 90-second survival starting today. You understand process now. Next, you must identify your triggers. Chapter 3. Identify your personal triggers. Map your vulnerabilities. Your triggers are unique. Unique to you. Unique to your history. Unique to your wounds. Unique to your insecurities. Unique to your values. Unique to your experiences. Unique to your pain. What triggers you intensely barely affects others. What barely affects you triggers others intensely. Because triggers are personal, are individual, are historical, are psychological, are deeply rooted. Someone criticizes your work. You explode angrily. Your colleague barely reacts. Different triggers, different histories, different wounds, different sensitivities. Someone dismisses your opinion. Your colleague explodes angrily. You barely react. Different triggers, different histories, different wounds, different sensitivities. Understanding this personal nature is essential, is liberating, is empowering. Your triggers don't reveal others' power. Reveal your vulnerabilities. Don't show their strength. Show your wounds. Don't prove their rightness. Prove your sensitivity. This understanding removes their power, removes their control, removes their manipulation. Your triggers are yours. Your responsibility, your healing opportunity, your growth potential, your mastery challenge. Not their weapon, not their tool, not their control mechanism. Yours to understand, yours to manage, yours to master, yours to transform. Through identification, through mapping, through recognition, through healing, through growth. Trigger categories help organize understanding, help systematic identification, help comprehensive mapping, help complete recognition. 5 main trigger categories affect most people. Category 1, competence triggers. Criticism of your ability, questioning of your skill, doubt of your knowledge, challenge to your expertise, dismissal of your contribution. These trigger defensive anger, trigger justification need, trigger proving compulsion, trigger validation seeking. Why? Because competence connects to worth, to value, to identity, to security, to survival. Questioning competence feels like attacking worth, like threatening identity, like removing security. Deep wound, deep trigger, deep reaction. Category 2, respect triggers. Being dismissed, being ignored, being belittled, being mocked, being disrespected, being treated as inferior, being talked down to, being patronized. These trigger retaliation anger, trigger revenge seeking, trigger face saving, trigger status defending. Why? Because respect connects to dignity, to value, to belonging, to hierarchy, to social standing. Disrespect feels like attacking dignity, like threatening belonging, like lowering status. Deep wound, deep trigger, deep reaction. Category 3, boundary triggers. Space invasion, time demands, energy exploitation, constant interruption, inappropriate requests, taking advantage, violating limits, crossing lines. These trigger protective anger, trigger pushback need, trigger assertion compulsion, trigger separation drive. Why? Because boundaries connect to safety, to autonomy, to control, to self-protection, to personal sovereignty. Boundary violation feels like attacking safety, like threatening autonomy, like removing control. Deep wound, deep trigger, deep reaction. Category 4, justice triggers. Unfair treatment, wrong blame, incorrect judgment, false accusation, unequal application, biased decision, unjust outcome, unfair advantage. These trigger righteous anger, trigger defending need, trigger explaining compulsion, trigger justice seeking. Why? Because fairness connects to order, to predictability, to safety, to trust, to social contract. Injustice feels like attacking order, like threatening predictability, like breaking trust. Deep wound, deep trigger, deep reaction. Category 5, value triggers. Opinion ignored, contribution unrecognized, presence unacknowledged, Effort unappreciated. Achievement dismissed. Worth questioned. Significance denied. Existence overlooked. These trigger validation seeking. Trigger attention demanding. Trigger worth proving. Trigger significance establishing. Why? Because recognition connects to existence, to matching, to significance, to worth, to belonging. Being unseen feels like not existing, like not matching, like having no worth. Deep wound, deep trigger, deep reaction. Triggers reveal vulnerabilities. Recognition enables management. Map triggers or remain blind to control. Systematic trigger identification requires structured tracking, requires honest documentation, requires complete recording, requires pattern recognition, requires vulnerability acceptance. 2-week tracking protocol reveals your trigger landscape completely. Tracking protocol is simple but powerful. Carry small notebook or use phone notes. Every time you react emotionally throughout day, immediately after reaction when calm enough, document the trigger event completely. What to document specifically? What happened exactly? What was said word for word if possible? What was done specifically? Who was involved by name? Where did it happen and when? What emotion arose in you? Name it specifically. Anger? Shame? Fear? Hurt? How intense was emotion? Rate 1 to 10 scale honestly. What did you do in response? What did you say exactly? What action did you take? What happened after your response? What was immediate consequence? What was their reaction? How do you feel about it now? Regret? Satisfaction? Confusion? What do you wish you'd done instead? This detailed tracking reveals patterns after 2 weeks. Reveals clearly. Reveals powerfully. Reveals transformatively. After 14 days of honest tracking, review all entries systematically. Look for patterns deliberately. Search for repetition intentionally. Identify commonalities carefully. Pattern analysis questions. What are your top 5 most frequent triggers? What situations trigger you most often? What specific words or phrases trigger you intensely? Who triggers you most easily and most often? What time of day are you most vulnerable to triggering? What physical states increase your trigger susceptibility? What emotional states amplify your reactivity? What topics trigger you most consistently? What settings make you most reactive? Most people discover surprising patterns. Discover they have 5 to 7 core triggers causing 80% of reactions. Discover certain people push buttons easily and repeatedly. Discover hunger makes them twice as reactive. Discover tiredness triples trigger vulnerability. Discover stress amplifies all triggers dramatically. Discover work situations trigger more than home situations or vice versa. Discover criticism triggers more than any other category. Discover respect triggers dominate their reactions. These discoveries are gold. Our transformation fuel. Our mastery foundation. Our control beginning. Our freedom pathway. Understanding why specific triggers affect you requires deeper exploration. Requires honest self-examination. Requires wound acknowledgement. Requires history connection. Requires compassion development. Each trigger connects to something. To some wound. To some fear. To some insecurity. To some pain. To some need. Competence criticism triggers you intensely? Probably connects to childhood criticism of performance, parental conditional approval based on achievement, past failure that wounded deeply, imposter syndrome and inadequacy feelings, worth tied to accomplishment and output. Disrespect triggers you intensely? Probably connects to childhood dismissal or belittling, being overlooked or forgotten growing up, low social status in formative years, past humiliation that scarred deeply, worth tied to others' perception and approval. Boundary violations trigger you intensely? Probably connects to childhood boundary violations or abuse, parents who didn't respect privacy or autonomy, past relationships that exploited or controlled, learned helplessness from repeated violations, safety tied to control and clear limits. Injustice triggers you intensely? probably connects to childhood unfair treatment or favoritism, being blamed for things you didn't do, watching others get away with wrong, powerlessness in face of unfairness, safety tied to predictable fair rules. Value dismissal triggers you intensely, probably connects to childhood emotional neglect or invisibility, feeling unseen or unimportant growing up, achievements that went unrecognized, relationships where you felt unappreciated, worth tied to external validation and recognition. This connection exploration isn't blame assignment, isn't excuse making, isn't victim mentality, is understanding development, is compassion building, is healing beginning, is growth enabling, is mastery establishing. Understanding trigger roots creates compassion for your reactivity instead of shame, clarity about healing needs instead of confusion, direction for growth work instead of aimlessness, patience with process instead of frustration, commitment to mastery instead of giving up. Your triggers make sense given your history. Make complete sense. Aren't weakness, aren't flaw, aren't defect, are wounds, are scars, are protection mechanisms, are survival responses that once served you, that now limit you, that require healing, that enable growth, that offer mastery opportunity through identification, through understanding, through compassion, through healing, through transformation. Triggers reveal vulnerabilities. Recognition enables management. Map triggers or remain blind to control. You understand now that triggers are personal through individual history and wounds. You understand that trigger categories organize understanding through systematic framework. You understand that tracking reveals patterns through documented evidence. Stop avoiding trigger identification. Start tracking reactions systematically. Stop judging yourself harshly for triggers. Start understanding connections compassionately. Stop remaining blind to patterns. Start documenting and analyzing deliberately. Track every emotional reaction for 2 weeks starting today. Document what happened, who involved, what you felt, how intense, what you did, what resulted. After 2 weeks, analyze patterns completely. Identify your top 5 core triggers. Recognize who triggers you easily. Notice when you're most vulnerable. Understand why these specific triggers affect you through history exploration. Connect triggers to wounds compassionately. This identification is power. This recognition is control. This mapping is mastery beginning. Your control awaits trigger identification. Your mastery awaits pattern recognition. Your freedom awaits vulnerability mapping. Identify triggers now. Track systematically. Map completely. Through trigger identification starting today. You identify triggers now. Next, you must create the gap. Chapter 4. Create the gap. Space between trigger and response. Viktor Frankl taught fundamental truth. Taught from concentration camp experience. Taught from ultimate suffering. Taught from complete powerlessness. Taught transformative wisdom. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. This space is everything, is the key, is the power, is the control, is the mastery, is the freedom. The space is the gap between trigger and response, between stimulus and reaction, between provocation and behavior, between hijacking and action. In that gap lives choice, lies power, lies control, lies freedom, lies growth, lies mastery. Without the gap, automatic reaction dominates. Hijacking controls, impulse rules, emotion commands, triggers win, you lose. With the gap, deliberate response becomes possible. Choice returns, control restores, power rebuilds, freedom emerges, mastery develops. You win. Creating the gap is fundamental skill, is essential practice, is core technique, is primary method, is master key of trigger mastery, of emotional control, of response freedom, of personal power, of life success. Most people have no gap, have zero space, have instant reaction. Trigger happens, reaction follows. Immediately, automatically, unconsciously, destructively. No pause, no space, no gap, no choice, no control. Trigger to reaction instantly. Like reflex, like knee-jerk, like automatic, like machine, like robot. Criticism triggers, defense activates instantly. Disrespect triggers, retaliation executes immediately. Rejection triggers, withdrawal happens automatically. Insult triggers, counterattack launches reflexively. No thought between, no pause inserted, no space created, no choice available, no control possible. This is hijacking complete. This is trigger domination. This is reaction slavery. This is control loss. This is power surrender. This is freedom abandonment. Must create gap. Must build space. Must insert pause. Must enable choice. Must restore control. Must reclaim power. Must establish freedom. Through gap creation. Through space building. Through pause insertion. Through choice enabling. Through mastery development. The gap interrupts automatic reaction. Interrupts the hijacking process. Interrupts the chemical flooding. Interrupts the amygdala domination. Interrupts the prefrontal shutdown. Creates intervention point. Creates control moment. Creates choice opportunity. Creates mastery window. Creates freedom space. The interruption is simple but powerful. Trigger occurs. Hijacking begins. But before reaction executes, gap inserted. Pause created. Space established. This pause stops automatic process. Stops reaction execution. Stops destructive behavior. Stops regrettable response. Allows rational thinking. Allows prefrontal engagement. Allows impulse control. Allows response choice. Allows deliberate decision. 3 techniques create gap effectively. Create reliably. Create powerfully. Create transformatively. Technique 1. The pause. When triggered, pause 3 seconds before any response. Before speaking. Before acting. Before deciding. Before reacting. 3 seconds of complete pause. Complete silence. Complete stillness. Complete nothing. Count slowly. 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000. During counting, do nothing. Say nothing. Decide nothing. React nothing. Just pause. Just breathe. Just exist. Just wait. 3 seconds seems short but feels eternal when triggered and hijacked. Feels impossibly long. Feels unbearably difficult. Feels intensely challenging. But creates gap. Creates space. Creates control. Creates choice. Creates mastery. Technique 2. The breath. Take 3 deep breaths before any response. Deep belly breaths. Slow inhales. Slower exhales. Deliberate breathing. Intentional respiration. This breathing activates parasympathetic nervous system. Activates rest and digest response. Counteracts fight or flight activation. Counteracts stress hormone flooding. Counteracts amygdala domination. Slows heart rate. Lowers blood pressure. Relaxes muscles. Clears thinking. Restores rationality. The breath is tool. Is technique. Is intervention. Is control. Is power. Breathing pattern for gap creation. Breathe in slowly counting to 4. Hold breath counting to 4. Breathe out slowly counting to 6. Pause counting to 2. Repeat 3 times completely. This breathing takes approximately 60 seconds. Creates substantial gap. Creates significant space. Creates powerful pause. Creates control restoration. Creates rational return. During breathing, flood of stress hormones begins subsiding. Peak begins passing. Hijacking begins ending. Rational brain begins returning. Control becomes possible. Choice becomes available. Response becomes deliberate. Through breath. Through pause. Through gap. Through space. Through technique. Technique 3. The label. Mentally name the emotion arising. Name it specifically. Name it accurately. Name it simply. I'm feeling anger. I'm feeling hurt. I'm feeling shame. I'm feeling fear. This labeling creates psychological distance, creates observer perspective, creates separation between you and emotion. You're not the anger. You're a person experiencing anger. You're not the hurt. You're a person feeling hurt. You're not the shame. You're a person noticing shame. This distinction is powerful, is liberating, is controlling, is mastering. Neuroscience research by Matthew Lieberman shows labeling emotions reduces amygdala activation, reduces emotional intensity, reduces hijacking power, activates prefrontal cortex, engages rational thinking, restores impulse control. Simply naming emotion, this is anger, reduces anger's power, reduces its control, reduces its domination, creates space, creates gap, creates distance, creates choice, creates control, creates mastery. The labeling process, trigger occurs, emotion arises, before reacting, mentally state. I notice I'm feeling anger rising. This simple statement creates gap, creates observer, creates distance, creates control, creates choice. Create the gap in every triggered moment, in every hijacking situation, in every reactive impulse, in every emotional flood, every single time, without exception, without excuse, without skip. This consistency builds neural pathway, builds automatic gap, builds habitual pause, builds consistent space, builds reliable control. First, practice gap creation in low-stakes situations. Practice when slightly annoyed. Practice when mildly frustrated. Practice when somewhat irritated. Practice when a little triggered. Small triggers. Minor irritations. Low-intensity reactions. These situations are training ground, our practice field, our skill building, our pathway creation, our mastery development. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Pause 3 seconds before reacting. Someone is rude in store. Take 3 deep breaths before responding. Someone interrupts you in meeting. Label the irritation before speaking. These small practices build gap habit, build pause reflex, build space creation, build control capacity. After weeks of low-stakes practice, gap becomes more automatic, becomes more accessible, becomes more reliable. Even in higher-stakes situations, even in more intense triggers, even in stronger hijackings. Then progressively practice with higher stakes. Practice when moderately triggered. Practice when significantly hijacked. Practice when intensely emotional. Practice when strongly reactive. Gradually increasing difficulty. Gradually raising intensity. Gradually elevating challenge. This progression builds capacity, builds skill, builds mastery, builds confidence, builds control. Someone criticizes your work. Pause 3 seconds before defending. Boss dismisses your idea. Take 3 deep breaths before responding. Partner disrespects you. Label the anger before reacting. Progressively higher stakes. Progressively more challenging. Progressively more difficult. But progressively more mastered. Through consistent practice. Through daily application. Through permanent commitment, through gap creation becoming automatic, becoming reflexive, becoming habitual, becoming integrated, until gap exists naturally, exists automatically, exists reliably, even under intense triggering, even during strong hijacking, even through powerful emotion. The gap is there. The space exists. The pause happens. The control returns. The choice becomes available. The mastery operates automatically, naturally, reliably, powerfully, permanently. Triggers demand instant reaction. The gap creates choice. Build the gap or remain automatic. You understand now that gap is space between trigger and response through Viktor Frankl's wisdom. You understand that gap interrupts automatic reaction through intervention opportunity. You understand that 3 techniques create gap through pause, breath, and label. Stop reacting instantly to every trigger. Start creating gap before every response. Stop letting triggers control reactions automatically. Start inserting pause deliberately and consistently. Stop remaining trapped in automatic patterns. Start building gap through 3 techniques. Practice gap creation starting today in every triggered moment. When triggered next, pause 3 seconds before any response. Take 3 deep breaths slowly and deliberately. Mentally label the emotion you're experiencing. Start with low-stakes triggers first. Practice with minor irritations consistently. Build the neural pathway gradually. Then progress to higher-stakes situations. Practice with stronger triggers. Build mastery progressively and permanently. This gap creates control. This space creates choice. This pause creates power. Your control awaits gap creation. Your choice awaits space insertion. Your power awaits pause practice. Create the gap now. Build the space. Insert the pause. Through gap creation starting today and continuing forever. You create gap now. Next, you must reframe triggers. Chapter 5. Reframe the trigger. Change meaning, change response. Triggers have power through meaning, through interpretation, through story, through narrative, through belief. The meaning you assign, the interpretation you create, the story you tell, the narrative you build, the belief you hold. Not the event itself, not the word spoken, not the action taken, not the situation occurring, but your interpretation of event, your meaning of words, your story about action, your narrative around situation. This is critical understanding, is liberating recognition, is empowering realization, is transformative insight, is mastery foundation. Same event triggers different people differently, completely differently. Opposite reactions, even. Why? Because different meanings, different interpretations, different stories, different narratives, different beliefs. Someone criticizes your work. Person A explodes angrily. Person B considers feedback thoughtfully. Same criticism, different meanings, different reactions. Person A interprets, they're attacking me personally. They think I'm incompetent. They're trying to undermine me. They want me to fail. Anger follows interpretation. Person B interprets, they're offering data. They're trying to help. They're sharing perspective. They want quality improvement. Thoughtfulness follows interpretation. Same event, different meaning, different response. The meaning creates emotion, creates reaction, creates response. Not the event, the interpretation. Cognitive reframing changes trigger meaning, changes interpretation, changes story, changes narrative, changes belief, reduces emotional charge, reduces hijacking intensity, reduces reaction compulsion, reduces destruction likelihood, enables better response, enables thoughtful decision, enables deliberate action, enables controlled behavior, enables successful outcome. Reframing is not denial, not toxic positivity, not reality avoidance, not truth distortion, not fake optimism. Is perspective shift, is interpretation choice, is meaning selection, is narrative control, is empowerment practice. You cannot always control what happens, cannot control what others say, cannot control what others do, cannot control external events, but you can control interpretation, can control meaning, can control story, can control narrative, can control response. This control is power, is freedom, is mastery, is sovereignty, is success. Through reframing, through meaning choice, through interpretation selection, through narrative control, through deliberate perspective. Reframing questions create alternative interpretations, create different meanings, create empowering narratives, create useful perspectives, create effective responses. 5 essential reframing questions. Question 1. What else could this mean? This opens possibility, opens alternatives, opens options, opens perspectives, opens interpretations beyond automatic destructive one. Someone dismisses your idea. Automatic interpretation. They disrespect me. They think I'm stupid. They're attacking me. Reframing question. What else could this mean? Alternative interpretations. They're busy and distracted. They didn't understand fully. They have different priorities. They need more information. They're protecting their own idea. Each alternative reduces emotional charge, reduces anger intensity, reduces hijacking power, enables better response. Question 2. How would someone I respect interpret this? This borrows wisdom, borrows perspective, borrows maturity, borrows mastery, borrows control. Think of someone you respect deeply. Someone wise, someone balanced, someone controlled, someone masterful. How would they interpret this trigger? What meaning would they assign? What story would they tell? What response would they choose? This question creates distance, creates objectivity, creates perspective, creates wisdom, creates control. Question 3. What's another way to view this? This forces creativity, forces flexibility, forces openness, forces exploration, forces expansion beyond rigid automatic interpretation. Someone criticizes your work harshly. Automatic interpretation. They're attacking me personally. Alternative views. They're passionate about quality. They're trying to prevent problems. They're sharing their standards. They're testing my resilience. They're revealing their own stress. Each view reduces personal offense, reduces ego involvement, reduces emotional reactivity, enables professional response. Question 4. Is this worth my peace? This evaluates cost, evaluates price, evaluates expense, evaluates sacrifice, evaluates trade-off. Your peace is valuable, is precious, is essential, is limited, is worth protecting. This trigger interpretation, this meaning assignment, this emotional reaction, this destructive response. Is it worth sacrificing peace? Worth surrendering calm? Worth abandoning control? Worth losing mastery? Usually answer is no. Usually not worth it. Usually peace is more valuable. This recognition shifts perspective, shifts priority, shifts response, shifts behavior, shifts outcome. Question 5. What would love do? Or what would wisdom do? This elevates perspective, elevates intention, elevates response, elevates behavior, elevates outcome. From reactive emotion to deliberate wisdom. From destructive impulse to constructive response. From automatic hijacking to conscious choice. Love asks, what response preserves relationship? What behavior honors both? What action creates connection? Wisdom asks, what response serves long-term? What behavior reflects values? What action creates success? These questions transform reactivity into deliberation, transform destruction into construction, transform weakness into strength. Reframing process has steps, has sequence, has method, has practice, has mastery. Step 1. Notice trigger and automatic interpretation. Someone insults you. You automatically interpret. They disrespect me. They attack me. Notice this interpretation. Recognize its interpretation. Not fact, not truth, not reality. Interpretation, meaning, story, narrative, choice. Step 2. Pause reaction through gap creation. Don't react from automatic interpretation. Create space. Insert pause. Take breath. Label emotion. Survive 90 seconds. Let chemistry peak and begin clearing. This pause enables reframing, enables questioning, enables alternative exploration, enables meaning choice. Step 3. Ask reframing questions deliberately. What else could this mean? How would someone wise interpret this? What's another way to view this? Is this worth my peace? What would wisdom do? Ask multiple questions. Explore multiple alternatives. Consider multiple perspectives. Generate multiple interpretations, multiple meanings, multiple narratives. Step 4. Choose empowering interpretation consciously. From generated alternatives, choose interpretation that reduces emotional charge, enables effective response, preserves relationships, serves long-term goals, reflects your values, maintains your peace. Choose deliberately. Choose consciously. Choose wisely, not denying reality. Choosing useful interpretation. Choosing empowering meaning. Choosing effective narrative. Step 5. Respond from new frame intentionally. Your response flows from interpretation, from meaning, from narrative. Different interpretation creates different response. Empowering interpretation enables effective response. Choose new frame, respond accordingly. Respond deliberately. Respond wisely. Respond effectively. Real-world reframing examples demonstrate power. Demonstrate transformation. Demonstrate mastery. Example 1. Criticism as data, not attack. Boss criticizes your report harshly. Automatic frame. Boss attacks me. Boss thinks I'm incompetent. Boss wants me gone. Emotional response. Anger, defensiveness, counterattack. Reframe. Boss provides data about gaps. Boss wants quality improvement. Boss invests time in feedback. Emotional response. Curiosity, professionalism, improvement focus. Same criticism. Different frame. Different response. Different outcome. Example 2. Disrespect as their issue, not your worth. Colleague dismisses your contribution publicly. Automatic frame. Colleague disrespects me. I'm not valued. I'm not important. Emotional response. Hurt, withdrawal, resentment. Reframe. Colleague reveals their insecurity. Colleague struggles with competition. Colleague acts from their wound. Emotional response. Compassion, confidence, boundary setting. Same dismissal. Different frame. Different response. Different outcome. Example 3. Rejection as wrong fit, not personal failure. Romantic interest rejects you. Automatic frame. I'm not good enough. I'm unlovable. I'm defective. Emotional response. Shame, depression, self-attack. Reframe. We're incompatible. Wrong timing or fit. Open space for right person. Emotional response. Acceptance, self-compassion, hope. Same rejection. Different frame. Different response. Different outcome. Example 4. Insult as their pain, not your problem. Someone insults you aggressively. Automatic frame. They attack me. They hate me. I must defend myself. Emotional response. Rage, retaliation, escalation. Reframe. They're in pain. They're projecting. They're struggling internally. Emotional response. Compassion, boundary setting, de-escalation. Same insult. Different frame. Different response. Different outcome. These reframes aren't denial, aren't avoidance, aren't suppression, are perspective shifts, are interpretation choices, are meaning selections, are empowerment practices, are mastery techniques that reduce suffering, that enable effectiveness, that preserve peace, that create success. Meaning creates emotional charge. Reframing changes meaning. Master reframing or suffer automatic interpretations. You understand now that triggers have power through meaning assignment. You understand that reframing creates alternative interpretations through deliberate questioning. You understand that reframing process enables empowering choice through systematic steps. Stop accepting automatic destructive interpretations. Start questioning and reframing deliberately. Stop letting default meanings control emotions. Start choosing empowering interpretations consciously. Stop suffering from rigid perspectives. Start exploring flexible alternatives systematically. Practice reframing starting today with every trigger. When triggered, pause reaction, ask reframing questions, explore alternatives, choose empowering interpretation, respond from new frame. Start with question. What else could this mean? Generate 3 alternative interpretations minimum. Choose most empowering interpretation deliberately. Respond from that frame intentionally. Practice daily with every trigger. Low stakes first, then progressively higher stakes. Build reframing habit through consistent practice. This reframing creates control. This meaning choice creates power. This perspective shift creates mastery. Your control awaits reframing practice. Your power awaits meaning choice. Your mastery awaits interpretation selection. Reframe triggers now. Choose meaning deliberately. Master perspective through reframing starting today. You reframe triggers now. Next, you must develop response options. Chapter 6. Develop response options. Beyond react or suppress. Most people know only two options when triggered. Only two response patterns. Only two behavioral choices. Only two reaction modes. Only two possibilities. React or suppress. Explode or implode. Attack or withdraw. Express destructively or contain painfully. These are only options most people have. Only strategies most people know. Only tools most people possess. Only responses most people execute. Both create problems. Both cause damage. Both produce pain. Both destroy success. Both limit effectiveness. Both reduce power. Both eliminate mastery. React destructively. Damages relationships, destroys reputation, creates regret, burns bridges, escalates conflict, loses respect, surrenders power. Suppress painfully. Damages health, creates resentment, builds pressure, causes explosion eventually, destroys well-being, loses authenticity, surrenders self. Damned if you react. Damned if you suppress. Trapped between two bad options. Two destructive choices. Two painful paths. Two losing strategies. Two powerless positions. But response mastery requires more. Requires options. Requires flexibility. Requires tools. Requires strategies. Requires menu. Response menu with multiple choices. Multiple strategies. Multiple approaches. Multiple tools. Multiple options. Beyond react or suppress. Beyond explode or implode. Beyond attack or withdraw. Beyond destructive expression or painful containment. The response menu includes multiple effective options, multiple constructive strategies, multiple powerful approaches, multiple masterful techniques, multiple successful responses. Option 1, tactical silence, saying nothing, complete silence, strategic quiet, deliberate non-response, not suppression, not containment, not avoidance, strategic choice, deliberate decision, powerful response. Sometimes best response is no response. Best words are no words. Best action is no action. Silence communicates powerfully, communicates control, communicates mastery, communicates confidence, communicates strength. Someone insults you, you remain silent. Your silence unnerves them, demonstrates control, shows strength, maintains power, prevents escalation, preserves dignity. Tactical silence requires confidence, requires security, requires self-control, requires mastery. Not everyone can do it. Not everyone has strength. Your silence proves your power, proves your control, proves your mastery. Option 2, strategic questioning. Asking questions instead of attacking, instead of defending, instead of reacting, instead of escalating. Questions create understanding, create information, create clarity, create de-escalation, create resolution. Someone criticizes you harshly. Instead of defending, ask, help me understand what specific concerns you have. What would you suggest differently? Can you give me an example? Questions shift dynamic. Shift from combat to collaboration, from attack to exploration, from emotion to information, from destruction to construction. Strategic questions require control, require curiosity, require humility, require wisdom, require mastery. Option 3, acknowledgement without agreement, hearing without accepting, understanding without endorsing, recognizing without agreeing, validating without surrendering. I hear you. I understand that's your perspective. I recognize you feel that way. I see this matters to you. These statements acknowledge without agreeing, validate without surrendering, recognize without accepting, de-escalate without losing ground. Someone attacks your position, you respond, I hear your concerns without agreeing with concerns. I understand your perspective without accepting perspective. I recognize this matters to you, without changing position. Acknowledgement creates connection, creates respect, creates understanding. Without surrender, without agreement, without acceptance. Powerful response, masterful technique, effective strategy. Option 4, boundary setting. Clear limits, firm lines, direct statements, explicit boundaries, protective standards. That's not okay. I won't tolerate that. That crosses my boundary. That behavior is unacceptable. I need you to stop. These statements set boundaries. Set clearly, set firmly, set directly, set explicitly, without aggression, without attack, without escalation. Just clear boundary, just firm limit, just direct standard. Someone violates your boundary repeatedly. You state clearly, that's not acceptable. I need you to stop. Not attacking them, not escalating conflict. Setting boundary, protecting limit, maintaining standard. Boundary setting requires clarity, requires firmness, requires courage, requires consistency, requires mastery. Option 5, delayed response. Not responding immediately, not deciding instantly, not reacting now, delaying intentionally, postponing deliberately. I'll think about that. Let me consider and get back to you. I need time to process. I'll respond tomorrow. Give me 24 hours. These statements delay response. Delay intentionally. Delay strategically. Delay wisely. Create time. Create space. Create clarity. Create wisdom. Create effectiveness. Someone demands immediate response to triggering situation. You respond, I need to think about this. I'll get back to you tomorrow. Not avoiding, not suppressing, not reacting, delaying deliberately, strategically, wisely, for better response, for clearer thinking, for wiser decision, for more effective action, for better outcome. Delayed response requires confidence, requires patience, requires discipline, requires wisdom, requires mastery. Option 6, humor deflection. Using humor appropriately, when situation allows, when relationship permits, when timing works. Light humor, kind humor, appropriate humor, deflects tension, reduces intensity, creates perspective, maintains connection. Someone makes minor provocation, you respond with light humor, diffuses situation, maintains connection, shows confidence, demonstrates control, preserves relationship. Critical. Humor must be appropriate, must be kind, must be well-timed, must be relationship appropriate. Wrong humor escalates. Right humor deflects. Requires judgment. Requires social intelligence. Requires mastery. Option 7, assertive expression. Clear statement of perspective. Clear expression of need. Clear communication of boundary. Clear articulation of disagreement. Without aggression. Without attack, without escalation. I disagree because I feel, when you, my perspective is, I prefer. These statements express clearly, express assertively, express directly, express respectfully, not aggressively, not passively, assertively. Someone dismisses your needs, you respond assertively. I need this to happen because. Not attacking. Not withdrawing, stating clearly, expressing directly, communicating assertively. Assertive expression requires clarity, requires confidence, requires communication skill, requires practice, requires mastery. Each situation requires different response. Different trigger calls for different option. Different person needs different approach. Different context demands different strategy. Different intensity requires different technique. Minor trigger might need tactical silence. Major violation might need boundary setting. Relationship conflict might need acknowledgement. Work situation might need strategic questioning. Personal attack might need delayed response. Must match response to situation. Match option to context. Match strategy to need. Match technique to trigger. Match approach to goal. This matching requires judgment, requires wisdom, requires flexibility, requires mastery. Building response options requires systematic development, requires deliberate learning, requires conscious practice, requires progressive mastery, requires permanent application. 5-step development process. Step 1. Identify your current default reactions. What do you do automatically when triggered? Attack, defend, withdraw, suppress, explode, implode? Identify honestly. Recognize clearly. Acknowledge completely. Your defaults, your automatic patterns, your reactive habits. Step 2. Learn new response strategies from menu. Study 7 options thoroughly. Understand each strategy completely. Learn each technique specifically. Know each approach deeply. Tactical silence. Strategic questioning. Acknowledgement without agreement. Boundary setting. Delayed response. Humor deflection. Assertive expression. Learn all options. Understand all strategies. Know all techniques. Build complete menu. Step 3. Practice responses in low-stakes situations. Practice new options with minor triggers, with small provocations, with low-intensity situations, with safe relationships. Someone mildly irritates you. Practice tactical silence. Someone asks an annoying question. Practice strategic questioning. Someone makes minor criticism. Practice acknowledgement without agreement. Low-stakes practice builds skill, builds confidence, builds habit, builds mastery, without high risk, without major consequences. Safe practice ground. Step 4. Mentally rehearse responses for predicted triggers. Know your triggers from Chapter 3. Know situations likely to trigger you, people likely to provoke you, context likely to hijack you. Before entering these situations, mentally rehearse. Visualize trigger happening. Visualize staying calm. Visualize using specific response option. Visualize executing effectively. Visualize successful outcome. This mental rehearsal prepares neurologically, prepares psychologically, prepares behaviorally, prepares effectively, makes actual response more automatic, more accessible, more likely, more successful, more masterful. Step 5. Evaluate response effectiveness afterward. After using new response option, evaluate honestly. Did it work? Did it achieve goal? Did it preserve relationship? Did it maintain dignity? Did it create desired outcome? What worked well? What needs adjustment? What would you do differently? This evaluation improves judgment, improves selection, improves execution, improves effectiveness, improves mastery. Over time, over practice, over application, over commitment, over dedication. React or suppress are not your only options. Response mastery requires multiple strategies. Build options or remain limited. You understand now that react or suppress both create problems through limited options. You understand that response menu provides alternatives through 7 strategic options. You understand that building options requires systematic development through 5-step process. Stop limiting yourself to react or suppress only. Start building complete response menu systematically. Stop using same destructive pattern repeatedly. Start selecting appropriate options strategically. Stop remaining trapped between 2 bad choices. Start developing multiple effective alternatives deliberately. Learn 7 response options starting today. Tactical silence. Strategic questioning. Acknowledgement without agreement. Boundary setting. Delayed response. Humor deflection. Assertive expression. Study each option thoroughly. Understand each strategy completely. Practice in low-stakes situations first. Mental rehearsal before predicted triggers. Evaluate effectiveness after each use. Build response flexibility progressively and permanently. This flexibility creates effectiveness. This menu creates power. This variety creates mastery. Your effectiveness awaits option development. Your power awaits menu building. Your mastery awaits flexibility creation. Build response options now. Develop complete menu. Master flexibility through systematic practice starting today. You develop options now. Next, you must strengthen resistance. Chapter 7. Strengthen trigger resistance. Build emotional armor. Trigger resistance strengthens through systematic practice, through deliberate building, through progressive development, through consistent training, through permanent commitment. Like physical immune system strengthens through exposure. Like muscles strengthen through exercise. Like skills strengthen through practice. Emotional resilience strengthens through managed trigger exposure, through controlled challenge, through progressive difficulty, through systematic desensitization, through resilience building. Resistance is not trigger elimination, not trigger avoidance, not trigger escape, not trigger prevention, is trigger management, is impact reduction, is recovery acceleration, is resilience building, is strength development. Strong resistance doesn't eliminate triggers, doesn't prevent triggering events, doesn't stop provocations, doesn't end challenges, reduces trigger power, reduces emotional intensity, reduces hijacking duration, reduces reaction compulsion, reduces damage severity, enables effective response, enables quick recovery, enables maintained control, enables preserved relationships, enables continued success. Through resistance, through resilience, through strength, through armor, through mastery. Resistance building includes multiple components, multiple strategies, multiple practices, multiple techniques, multiple approaches. Component 1. Progressive exposure. Gradually exposing yourself to triggers in controlled settings, in safe environments, in managed contexts, in prepared states, in supported situations. Not avoiding triggers completely, not seeking triggers recklessly. Progressively exposing, gradually challenging, systematically building. Like allergy treatment through gradual exposure. Like fear treatment through systematic desensitization. Like strength building through progressive overload. Start with mild triggers. Handle successfully. Build confidence. Increase difficulty slightly. Handle successfully. Build more confidence. Increase difficulty again. Progressive building. Progressive strengthening. Progressive mastering. Someone who triggers with criticism. Start exposing to mild feedback. Handle it well. Progress to moderate criticism. Handle it well. Progress to harsh criticism. Handle it well. Each success builds resistance, builds confidence, builds strength, builds resilience, builds mastery. Progressive exposure requires planning, requires courage, requires support, requires patience, requires commitment. Component 2. Visualization rehearsal. Mentally practicing trigger scenarios. Mentally rehearsing effective responses. Mentally experiencing success. Mentally building confidence. Mentally creating pathways. Neuroscience shows brain doesn't distinguish well between actual experience and vivid visualization. Both create neural pathways. Both build patterns. Both develop automaticity. Both strengthen responses. Both enable mastery. Daily visualization practice. 10 minutes morning, sit quietly. Visualize likely trigger situation in detail. Visualize staying calm and controlled. Visualize using effective response option. Visualize successful outcome. Visualize feeling confident and powerful. Repeat daily. Repeat consistently. Repeat permanently. This visualization builds neural pathways, builds response automaticity, builds trigger confidence, builds emotional strength, builds behavioral mastery. When actual trigger occurs, response more automatic, more accessible, more likely, more successful, more masterful, because practiced mentally, because rehearsed virtually, because visualized repeatedly, because prepared neurologically, because strengthened systematically. Component 3. Physical resilience. Exercise, sleep, and nutrition strengthen emotional regulation, strengthen stress management, strengthen impulse control, Strengthen trigger resistance. Strengthen response effectiveness. Physical and emotional are connected, are integrated, are interdependent, are mutually affecting, are systemically linked. Poor physical state increases trigger vulnerability dramatically. Sleep deprivation doubles emotional reactivity. Hunger increases irritability significantly. Sedentary lifestyle reduces stress resilience. Poor nutrition amplifies anxiety. Physical neglect destroys emotional control. Physical care builds emotional strength. Exercise releases stress, improves mood, enhances control, builds resilience, strengthens resistance. Minimum 30 minutes daily. Moderate intensity, consistent practice, permanent commitment. Sleep restores regulation, repairs systems, consolidates learning, builds resilience, strengthens resistance. Minimum 7 to 8 hours nightly. Quality sleep, consistent schedule, dark room, cool temperature, no screens before bed. Nutrition fuels regulation, stabilizes mood, supports control, builds resilience, strengthens resistance. Whole foods, adequate protein, healthy fats, complex carbohydrates, limited sugar, limited caffeine, limited alcohol, hydration. These physical practices aren't optional, aren't secondary, aren't separate, are essential, are foundational, are integral, are mandatory, are primary, for trigger resistance, for emotional control, for response mastery. Component 4, stress inoculation. Small managed stresses build capacity for larger stresses. Build resilience, build strength, build tolerance, build resistance. Like vaccine introduces small dose to build immunity. Like exercise creates small damage to build strength. Small managed stresses create small challenges to build resilience. Deliberately engaging minor stressors. Deliberately facing small challenges. Deliberately managing low-level triggers. Deliberately practicing difficult situations. Deliberately building capacity progressively. Cold showers build stress tolerance. Uncomfortable conversations build social courage. Small risks build confidence. Minor challenges build resilience. Each managed stress builds capacity, builds slightly more, builds progressively, builds systematically. Over time, over practice, over commitment, builds significant capacity, builds substantial resilience, builds strong resistance. For major stresses, for significant triggers, for intense challenges. The HALT principle identifies vulnerability states, identifies when resistance is lowest, when susceptibility is highest, when triggers hit hardest, when control is most difficult, when mastery is most challenged. HALT stands for hungry, angry, lonely, tired. These states dramatically increase trigger vulnerability, dramatically reduce resistance, dramatically amplify reactions, dramatically decrease control, dramatically destroy mastery. Hungry state reduces blood sugar, reduces brain function, reduces impulse control, reduces emotional regulation, increases irritability, increases reactivity, increases trigger susceptibility. Simple hunger makes you twice as reactive, twice as easily triggered, twice as likely to react destructively. Solution: eat regular meals, maintain stable blood sugar, carry healthy snacks, never let yourself get too hungry. Angry state already has stress hormones flooding, already has amygdala activated, already has prefrontal cortex reduced, already has control compromised. Additional triggers hit harder, hit more intensely, create more damage, create worse outcomes. Solution: cool down before engaging triggers, process anger before difficult situations, delay important conversations until calm, recognize anger vulnerability consciously. Lonely state creates emotional need, creates validation seeking, creates sensitivity increase, creates social pain, creates trigger amplification. Loneliness makes criticism hurt more, makes rejection wound deeper, makes dismissal sting harder. Solution: maintain social connection. Reach out for support. Schedule regular contact. Recognize loneliness vulnerability consciously. Tired state reduces all capacity, reduces impulse control, reduces emotional regulation, reduces stress tolerance, reduces trigger resistance, increases all reactivity. Fatigue makes everything worse, every trigger harder, every reaction stronger, every control weaker. Solution: prioritize sleep ruthlessly. Recognize tiredness vulnerability consciously. Delay difficult conversations when exhausted. Avoid high-trigger situations when tired. Halt awareness is essential, is critical, is mandatory, is protective, is empowering. Check halt status before challenging situations, before difficult conversations, before high-trigger contexts, before important decisions, before confrontations. Ask yourself, am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Am I tired? If answer is yes to any, extra vulnerability exists. Extra caution required. Extra awareness needed. Extra control essential. Extra support helpful. Might delay situation if possible. Might prepare more carefully if unavoidable. Might seek support if available. Might use extra techniques if necessary. Might acknowledge vulnerability honestly. Halt awareness prevents disasters, prevents worst reactions, prevents biggest regrets, prevents relationship destruction, prevents career damage. Through simple checking, through honest awareness, through conscious recognition, through protective action, through masterful management. Building resistance requires daily practices, daily habits, daily commitments, daily actions, daily dedications. 5 daily resistance practices. Practice 1. Morning trigger preparation. 10 minutes morning. Identify today's likely triggers based on schedule. Who will you interact with? What situations will occur? What challenges will arise? What triggers might activate? Visualize encountering triggers calmly. Rehearse specific responses mentally. Set trigger management intention clearly. Today I will stay calm. Today I will respond wisely. Today I will maintain control. This preparation strengthens readiness, strengthens confidence, strengthens effectiveness, strengthens resistance. Practice 2. Mindfulness practice. 10 minutes daily. Sitting quietly, observing thoughts without judgment, noticing emotions without reaction, watching sensations without resistance, building present moment awareness, building emotion observation, building reaction gap, building trigger resistance. This mindfulness builds fundamental capacity, builds observer perspective, builds emotional distance, builds control foundation, builds mastery basis. Practice 3. Physical resilience maintenance. 30 minutes exercise daily. 7 to 8 hours sleep nightly. 3 healthy meals daily. Adequate hydration throughout day. These basics maintain physical foundation, maintain emotional capacity, maintain trigger resistance, maintain response effectiveness, maintain behavioral mastery. Non-negotiable, essential, mandatory, primary, foundational. Practice 4. Trigger exposure reflection. 5 minutes evening. Reflect on day's triggers honestly. What triggered you today? How did you respond? What worked well? What needs improvement? What will you do differently tomorrow? This reflection builds learning, builds improvement, builds effectiveness, builds mastery, builds resistance. Practice 5. Gratitude practice. 5 minutes evening. Identify 3 things you're grateful for today. Write them down. Feel the appreciation. This gratitude builds resilience, builds positive emotion, builds stress buffer, builds trigger resistance, builds emotional strength. 5 practices total, 60 minutes daily invested. In resistance building, in resilience strengthening, in armor developing, in mastery creating, in freedom establishing. Best investment possible. Best use of time. Best priority ever. Best decision made. Best commitment given. Triggers are inevitable. Resistance is buildable. Strengthen resistance or remain vulnerable forever. You understand now that trigger resistance strengthens through systematic practice like physical immunity. You understand that resistance building includes multiple components through comprehensive approach. You understand that HALT principle identifies vulnerability through 4 danger states. Stop avoiding trigger exposure completely. Start building resistance progressively and systematically. Stop neglecting physical resilience foundation. Start maintaining exercise, sleep, and nutrition religiously. Stop ignoring HALT vulnerability states. Start checking and managing consciously. Implement 5 daily resistance practices starting today. Morning trigger preparation, 10 minutes. Mindfulness practice, 10 minutes. Physical resilience maintenance, 30 minutes plus. Evening trigger reflection, 5 minutes. Evening gratitude practice, 5 minutes. Check HALT status before challenging situations always. Hungry? Eat. Angry? Cool down. Lonely? Connect. Tired? Rest or postpone. Build progressive exposure systematically. Start mild triggers. Handle successfully. Increase difficulty gradually. Practice visualization rehearsal daily. This builds resistance. This strengthens armor. This creates resilience. Your resistance awaits daily practice. Your armor awaits systematic building. Your resilience awaits consistent strengthening. Strengthen resistance now. Build armor daily. Create resilience through systematic practice starting today. You strengthen resistance now. Next, you must use triggers as teachers. Chapter 8. Use triggers as teachers. Extract growth from pain. Triggers are teachers, our instructors, our guides, our messengers, our revealer, our growth opportunities, our development catalysts, our transformation pathways, our healing indicators, our mastery builders. Viewing triggers as teachers transforms them. Transforms completely. Transforms fundamentally. Transforms powerfully. Transforms permanently. From enemies destroying peace to allies building strength. From obstacles blocking progress to stepping stones enabling growth. From problems creating suffering to solutions revealing wisdom. From punishments enduring pain to lessons teaching mastery. This transformation is perspective shift, is mindset change, is framework reframe, is interpretation selection, is empowerment choice. Triggers will continue, will always exist, will never disappear, will constantly occur, will perpetually challenge, cannot eliminate triggers from life, cannot avoid all provocations, cannot prevent all challenges, cannot escape all difficulties, cannot control all situations, but can control response, can control interpretation, can control learning, can control growth, can control transformation. Through viewing triggers as teachers, through extracting lessons, through mining wisdom, through harvesting growth, through building mastery. Triggers teach 3 primary lessons, 3 essential teachings, 3 critical insights, 3 transformative wisdoms, 3 mastery foundations. Lesson 1, where you need healing, where wounds exist, where pain remains, where trauma lingers, where hurt persists. Intense triggers often connect to unhealed wounds. Connect directly. Connect powerfully. Connect unmistakably. Connect revealingly. Connect instructively. Someone criticizes your competence. You explode intensely. Disproportionate reaction. Excessive emotion. Overwhelming hijacking. This intensity signals wound. Signals unhealed pain. Signals old trauma. Signals deep hurt. Probably childhood criticism. Probably parental disapproval. Probably early failure. Probably shaming experience. Probably competence-based worth. The trigger reveals wound. Points to pain. Indicates healing need. Shows growth opportunity. Teaches transformation possibility. Without trigger, Wound stays hidden, stays unconscious, stays unaddressed, stays unhealed, stays limiting. Trigger brings wound to surface, to consciousness, to awareness, to attention, to healing possibility. Painful but necessary, difficult but valuable, uncomfortable but transformative. The trigger teaches, heal this wound, address this pain, process this trauma, resolve this hurt, transform this limitation. Powerful teaching, essential lesson, critical insight, transformative wisdom, growth foundation. Lesson 2, where you need boundaries, where limits are missing, where standards are absent, where protection is weak, where violations are tolerated, where exploitation is allowed. Repeated triggers often signal boundary violations, signal limit crossing, signal standard breaking, signal protection failure, signal tolerance excess. Someone repeatedly interrupts you. You repeatedly react angrily. Same trigger, same person, same situation, same reaction, same outcome. This repetition signals boundary need, signals limit requirement, signals standard necessity, signals protection demand, signals tolerance end. You allow interruption. You tolerate violation. You permit crossing. You accept breaking. Then react angrily. The anger is message, is teaching, is instruction, is guidance, is wisdom. Set boundary here. Establish limit now. Enforce standard clearly. Protect yourself firmly. Stop tolerating this. The trigger teaches boundary need, teaches limit necessity, teaches standard requirement, teaches protection demand, teaches tolerance end. Without trigger, boundary need stays unrecognized, stays unaddressed, stays unestablished, stays unenforced, stays violated. Trigger reveals need, points to requirement, indicates necessity, shows opportunity, teaches transformation, painful but necessary, difficult but valuable, uncomfortable but transformative. Lesson 3, where you need growth, where development is required, where expansion is necessary, where evolution is demanded, where transformation is needed. Triggers reveal areas requiring development, requiring skill building, requiring capacity expansion, requiring perspective shifting, requiring maturity increasing. Someone dismisses your opinion. You react with validation seeking, with approval chasing, with worth proving, with significance establishing. This reaction reveals need, reveals development requirement, reveals growth opportunity, reveals transformation possibility, reveals mastery pathway. Need for internal validation development, self-worth establishment, confidence building, independence strengthening, security creating. The trigger teaches, develop internal validation, build self-worth, create confidence, strengthen independence, establish security, grow beyond external approval need. Powerful teaching, essential lesson, critical insight, transformative wisdom, growth foundation. Without trigger, growth need stays hidden, stays unrecognized, stays unaddressed, stays undeveloped, stays limiting. Trigger reveals need, points to requirement, indicates opportunity, shows pathway, teaches transformation. The learning extraction process requires systematic approach, requires deliberate method, requires conscious practice, requires honest reflection, requires committed application. 6-step extraction process. Step 1. Wait until calm. Don't extract learning during hijacking, during flooding, during reaction, during emotion peak, during control loss. Wait. Wait until calm. Wait until chemistry clears. Wait until rational brain returns. Wait until observer perspective possible. Hours later, day later, week later, whenever calm restored, whenever reflection possible, whenever learning accessible. Then extract, then reflect, then learn, then grow, then transform. Step 2. Describe trigger event objectively. What happened exactly? What was said specifically? What was done precisely? Who was involved? When did it occur? Where did it happen? Objective description only. No interpretation. No judgment. No story. No narrative. Just facts. Just events. Just what actually happened. This objectivity creates clarity, creates accuracy, creates foundation, creates learning basis. Step 3. Identify emotional response honestly. What emotion arose? Anger? Hurt? Shame? Fear? Sadness? How intense? Rate 1 to 10. What thoughts accompanied emotion? What sensations occurred physically? What impulse arose behaviorally? Honest identification. Complete recognition. Full acknowledgement. No denial. No minimization. No justification. Just honest seeing. Just accurate naming. Just complete owning. This honesty creates awareness, creates understanding, creates insight, creates learning possibility. Step 4. Ask reflection questions deeply. Essential questions for learning extraction. What did this trigger teach me about myself? What wound does this connect to from my past? What unhealed pain does this reveal? What boundary do I need to establish? What limit do I need to enforce? What growth does this require from me? What skill do I need to develop? What perspective do I need to shift? What maturity do I need to gain? What would make me less triggerable here? Ask all questions. Explore all angles. Consider all possibilities. Generate all insights. Extract all wisdom, all learning, all growth, all transformation, all mastery. Step 5. Document insights permanently. Write them down. Write specifically. Write clearly. Write completely. Write permanently. Journal. Notebook. Document. File. Permanent record. These insights are gold. Our treasure. Our wisdom. Our growth. Our transformation. Too valuable to forget. Too precious to lose. Too important to ignore. Must document. Must preserve. Must remember. Must apply. Must integrate. This documentation creates permanence, creates reference, creates tracking, creates accumulation, creates mastery. Step 6. Create action plans specifically. Insights without action create nothing. Create no change. Create no growth. Create no transformation. Create no mastery. Must act. Must apply. Must execute. Must implement. Must commit. From insights, create specific actions. I will heal this wound by seeking therapy. I will establish this boundary by stating clearly. I will develop this skill by practicing daily. I will shift this perspective by reframing as specific actions, concrete plans, measurable steps, accountable commitments, trackable progress. This action creates change, creates growth, creates transformation, creates mastery. Common trigger teachings demonstrate lessons. Demonstrate clearly. Demonstrate powerfully. Demonstrate transformatively. Criticism trigger teaches. Teaches confidence building need. Teaches internal validation development. Teaches self-worth establishment. Teaches competence security. Teaches approval independence. The teaching is clear. Develop unshakable confidence. Build internal validation. Establish self-worth. Secure competence belief. Release approval addiction. Disrespect trigger teaches. Teaches boundary enforcement need. Teaches standard establishment. Teaches dignity protection. Teaches respect requirement. Teaches self-respect development. The teaching is clear. Enforce boundaries firmly. Establish standards clearly. Protect dignity fiercely. Require respect consistently. Develop self-respect deeply. Rejection trigger teaches. Teaches self-worth development need. Teaches attachment security. Teaches independence strengthening. Teaches resilience building. Teaches perspective expanding. The teaching is clear. Develop internal worth. Secure attachment foundation. Strengthen independence capacity. Build resilience muscle. Expand perspective lens. Control loss trigger teaches. Teaches acceptance development need. Teaches surrender learning. Teaches flexibility building. Teaches trust developing. Teaches power redefining. The teaching is clear. Develop acceptance capacity. Learn strategic surrender. Build flexibility muscle. Develop trust foundation. Redefine power source. Using triggers as teachers requires mindset shift, requires perspective change, requires framework transformation, requires interpretation selection, requires empowerment choice. From victim mindset to student mindset. From why does this happen to me to what is this teaching me? From this shouldn't happen to this is happening for my growth. From life is unfair to life is teaching. From I'm being attacked to I'm being instructed. From I'm being hurt to I'm being developed. From reactive suffering to proactive growth. From passive victimhood to active learning. From helpless experiencing to empowered extracting. From meaningless pain to meaningful teaching. From purposeless suffering to purposeful development. This shift transforms everything. Transforms trigger experience. Transforms emotional response. Transforms behavioral reaction. Transforms life outcome. Transforms personal mastery. Through viewing triggers as teachers. Through extracting lessons. Through mining wisdom. Through harvesting growth. Through building mastery. Triggers can destroy or teach. Teachers create growth. Learn from triggers or waste their lessons. You understand now that triggers are teachers through perspective transformation. You understand that triggers teach 3 lessons through wound revelation, boundary indication, and growth requirement. You understand that learning extraction requires systematic process through 6 deliberate steps. Stop viewing triggers as enemies only. Start viewing triggers as teachers primarily. Stop suffering passively from triggers. Start learning actively from triggers. Stop wasting trigger lessons. Start extracting trigger wisdom systematically. After every trigger event, when calm, extract learning deliberately. Describe event objectively. Identify emotional response honestly. Ask reflection questions deeply. Document insights permanently. Create action plans specifically. Ask specifically, what wound needs healing? What boundary needs establishing? What growth is required? Answer honestly. Document clearly. Act decisively. This transforms suffering into wisdom. This converts pain into growth. This changes destruction into development. Your growth awaits trigger teaching. Your wisdom awaits lesson extraction. Your mastery awaits learning application. Learn from triggers now. Extract wisdom systematically. Grow through teaching starting today. You learn from triggers now. Next, you must practice daily. Chapter 9. Practice trigger immunity. Daily emotional training. Trigger immunity develops through daily practice. Through consistent training. Through systematic execution. Through permanent commitment. Through endless dedication. Not through one-time learning. Not through occasional effort. Not through sporadic practice. Not through intermittent application. Not through temporary commitment. Daily practice. Daily training. Daily execution. Daily application. Daily dedication. Like physical fitness requires daily exercise. Like musical skill requires daily practice. Like athletic ability requires daily training. Emotional immunity requires daily practice. Daily training. Daily execution. Daily application. Daily commitment. Cannot read about trigger mastery and achieve immunity. Cannot understand principles and gain control. Cannot learn techniques and develop mastery. Must practice. Must train. Must execute. Must apply. Must dedicate. Daily. Consistently. Systematically. Permanently. Endlessly. This daily practice builds neural pathways, builds automatic responses, builds habitual patterns, builds integrated behaviors, builds unconscious competence, builds genuine immunity, builds lasting mastery, builds permanent control, builds sustainable freedom through daily practice, through consistent training, through systematic execution, through permanent commitment, through endless dedication. 5 daily trigger training practices. 5 essential exercises. 5 mandatory commitments. 5 non-negotiable habits. 5 permanent dedications. Every day, every single day, without exception, without excuse, without skip, without break, without vacation, without pause, without cessation, without end. Practice 1. Morning trigger preparation. 10 minutes every morning. Before day begins. Before challenges start. Before triggers arise. Before situations occur. Before interactions happen. Morning preparation protocol systematic. Protocol structured. Protocol powerful. Protocol transformative. Protocol essential. Sit quietly in calm space. Review today's schedule completely. Identify today's likely triggers specifically. Who will you interact with today? Known triggering people? What situations will occur today? Known triggering contexts? What challenges will arise today? Known triggering circumstances? What topics will discuss today? Known triggering subjects? What demand will face today? Known triggering requests? List all likely triggers. List specifically. List honestly. List completely. List preparedly. For each likely trigger, visualize encounter. Visualize in detail. Visualize vividly. Visualize completely. Visualize successfully. See trigger occurring. See yourself staying calm. See yourself creating gap. See yourself using effective response. See successful outcome. See maintain control. See preserved relationship. See achieved goal. This visualization prepares neurologically, prepares psychologically, prepares behaviorally, prepares emotionally, prepares masterfully. After visualization, set clear intention. Set specifically. Set powerfully. Set committedly. Today I will stay calm when triggered. Today I will create the gap consistently. Today I will respond wisely, not react destructively. Today I will maintain control regardless of circumstances. Today I will use triggers as teachers. Today I will practice mastery. State intention clearly. State out loud if possible. State committedly. State powerfully. State definitively. This intention setting programs day. Programs mind. Programs behavior. Programs response. Programs mastery. Makes control more likely. Makes effectiveness more probable. Makes success more achievable. Makes mastery more accessible. Through preparation. Through visualization. Through intention. Through commitment. Through practice. 10 minutes morning. Every morning. Every single morning. Without exception. Essential practice. Mandatory habit. Non-negotiable commitment. Practice 2. Mindfulness meditation. 10 minutes daily. Anytime during day. Morning preferred. Afternoon acceptable. Evening workable. But daily mandatory. Mindfulness builds fundamental capacity. Builds essential skill. Builds core ability. Builds primary foundation. Builds mastery basis. For trigger immunity. For emotional control. For response mastery. Mindfulness meditation protocol simple but powerful. Sit comfortably in quiet space. Close eyes or soften gaze. Focus attention on breath. Notice breath naturally. Notice inhale. Notice exhale. Notice pause between. Just noticing. Just observing. Just witnessing. Without controlling. Without changing. Without judging. Thoughts will arise. Thoughts always arise. This is normal. This is natural. This is expected. When thought arises, notice thought. Label it. Thinking. Then return attention to breath. Gently. Kindly. Patiently. Without judgment. Without frustration. Without criticism. Repeat endlessly. Thought arises. Notice. Label. Return a breath. Thought arises. Notice. Label. Return a breath. This process builds capacity. Builds observer perspective. Builds emotional distance. Builds reaction gap. Builds impulse control. Builds trigger immunity. You learn to observe thoughts without believing them. Observe emotions without becoming them. Notice sensations without reacting to them. Watch triggers without being controlled by them. This observation is power, is control, is freedom, is mastery, is immunity. 10 minutes daily builds this capacity progressively, builds systematically, builds powerfully, builds transformatively, builds permanently. Practice 3. Trigger exposure journaling. 5 minutes evening. End of day. After day's triggers. After day's challenges. After day's practices. Reflect and document. Reflect honestly. Document completely. Write specifically. Write clearly. Write permanently. Journal protocol systematic. What triggered you today? List all triggers, all situations, all provocations, all challenges. How did you respond to each? What did you do? What did you say? How did you feel? Did you create the gap? Did you use effective response? Did you maintain control? What worked well today? What responses were effective? What techniques succeeded? What practices helped? What enabled mastery? What needs improvement? What responses were ineffective? What techniques failed? What practices needed? What prevented mastery? What will you do differently tomorrow? Specific adjustments. Specific improvements. Specific commitments. This reflection builds learning, builds improvement, builds evolution, builds growth, builds mastery. Without reflection, no learning. Without learning, no improvement. Without improvement, no mastery. Reflection essential. Journaling mandatory. Documentation necessary. 5 minutes evening. Every single evening. Without exception. Practice 4. Response effectiveness evaluation. 5 minutes evening. After journaling. Deeper analysis. Deeper evaluation. Deeper learning. Deeper growth. Deeper mastery. For each major trigger today, evaluate deeply. What was your goal in that situation? What did you want to achieve? What outcome did you desire? What relationship did you want to preserve? What did you actually achieve? What outcome actually occurred? What was actual result? Was this goal achievement? Goal failure? Partial success? If goal achieved, what specifically enabled success? What response worked? What technique succeeded? What practice helped? How can you replicate this success? How can you strengthen this pattern? How can you make this more automatic? If goal failed, what specifically prevented success? What response failed? What technique missed? What practice needed? How can you adjust next time? What different response needed? What additional practice required? This evaluation improves judgment, improves selection, improves execution, improves effectiveness, improves mastery, makes better responses more likely, makes effective techniques more automatic, makes successful outcomes more probable, makes control more accessible, makes mastery more achievable. Through evaluation, through analysis, through learning, through improvement, through growth. Practice 5. Gratitude practice. 5 minutes evening. End of day. After all reflection. After all evaluation. After all analysis. Gratitude. Appreciation. Recognition. Acknowledgement. Celebration. Identify 3 things you're grateful for today. 3 specific things. 3 real things. 3 meaningful things. Can be successful trigger management, effective response execution, maintained relationship, preserved dignity, learned lesson, noticed improvement, kept commitment, practiced consistently, grew slightly. Write 3 gratitudes. Write specifically. Write genuinely. Write feelingly. Don't just list. Actually feel appreciation. Actually experience gratitude. Actually sense thankfulness. This gratitude practice builds resilience, builds positive emotion, builds stress buffer, builds psychological capital, builds emotional strength, builds trigger resistance. Gratitude is not toxic positivity, not denial of difficulty, not avoidance of pain, is recognition of good, is appreciation of growth, is acknowledgement of progress, is celebration of success, is foundation of resilience. Research by Robert Emmons shows daily gratitude practice increases happiness, reduces depression, improves relationships, strengthens resilience, enhances well-being, builds emotional immunity, builds trigger resistance, builds stress tolerance, through 5 minutes daily, through consistent practice, through permanent commitment. 5 practices total time, 35 minutes daily. Morning preparation, 10 minutes. Mindfulness meditation, 10 minutes. Trigger journaling, 5 minutes. Response evaluation, 5 minutes. Gratitude practice, 5 minutes. 35 minutes total. Invested in immunity. Invested in mastery. Invested in control. Invested in freedom. Invested in success. Best investment possible. Best use of time. Best priority ever. Best decision made. Best commitment given. 35 minutes daily creates transformation. Creates control. Creates mastery. Creates immunity. Creates freedom. Over weeks. Over months. Over years. Over lifetime. Progressive building. Progressive strengthening. Progressive mastering. Progressive transforming. Progressive freeing. Track progress weekly. Track systematically. Track honestly. Track completely. Track motivatingly. Weekly tracking questions. How many times triggered this week? How many times created gap successfully? How many times used effective response? How many times maintained control? How many times achieved desired outcome? Compare to previous week. Notice improvement. Celebrate progress. Acknowledge growth. Maintain motivation. Improvement is gradual, is progressive, is cumulative, is permanent. Through daily practice, through consistent training, through systematic execution, through permanent commitment. Trigger immunity requires daily practice. Practice builds immunity. Train daily or remain vulnerable. You understand now that trigger immunity requires daily practice like physical fitness. You understand that 5 daily practices build immunity through systematic training. You understand that progress tracking maintains motivation through visible improvement. Stop practicing occasionally and inconsistently. Start practicing daily and systematically. Stop skipping practices when busy. Start prioritizing practices as essential. Stop abandoning commitment when difficult. Start maintaining dedication permanently. Implement 5 daily practices starting tomorrow morning. Morning trigger preparation, 10 minutes before day starts. Mindfulness meditation, 10 minutes during day. Evening trigger journaling, 5 minutes documenting reactions. Evening response evaluation, 5 minutes analyzing effectiveness. Evening gratitude practice, 5 minutes appreciating progress. 35 minutes total daily. Non-negotiable, essential, mandatory, primary, foundational. Track progress weekly. Count successful gaps. Count effective responses. Count maintain control. Notice improvement. Celebrate progress. This builds immunity. This creates mastery. This establishes control. Your immunity awaits daily practice. Your mastery awaits consistent training. Your control awaits systematic execution. Practice daily now. Train consistently. Build immunity through daily practice, starting tomorrow and continuing forever. You practice daily now. Finally, you must understand permanence. Chapter 10. Trigger mastery is permanent practice. Control requires daily protection. Trigger mastery is not destination, not achievement, not completion, not finish line, not final state, not permanent condition, not one-time accomplishment, not static state, is ongoing practice, is continuous training, is permanent commitment, is endless dedication, is lifetime journey, is daily work, is forever process, is constant maintenance. Temporary practice creates temporary control. Temporary training creates temporary mastery. Temporary commitment creates temporary immunity. Temporary dedication creates temporary freedom. Stop practicing, control disappears. Stop training, mastery evaporates. Stop committing, immunity collapses. Stop dedicating, freedom vanishes. Automatic, guaranteed, inevitable, mechanical, rapid, devastating, complete, permanent unless reversed. Like physical fitness, like musical skill, like athletic ability, like any developed capacity. Stop exercising, fitness disappears. Stop practicing, skill deteriorates. Stop training, ability declines. Stop maintaining, capacity collapses. Neural pathways strengthen with use, weaken with disuse. Habits strengthen with practice, weaken with neglect. Skills strengthen with application, weaken with abandonment. Mastery strengthens with commitment, weakens with cessation. This is neuroscience. This is biology. This is psychology. This is reality. This is truth. Must practice permanently. Must train continuously. Must commit endlessly. Must dedicate eternally. Must maintain forever. Consider degradation mechanism specifically. Consider control loss. Consider mastery collapse. Consider immunity disappearance. Consider freedom vanishing. You practice trigger mastery diligently for 3 months. Practice gap creation consistently. Practice reframing regularly. Practice response options systematically. Practice resistance building daily. Practice all techniques committedly. Build significant control. Build substantial mastery. Build strong immunity. Build real freedom. Build genuine power. Results are evident. Results are impressive. Results are transformative. Triggers that once hijacked you completely now barely affect you. Situations that once destroyed control now remain manageable. People that once controlled you easily now have no power. Provocations that once caused explosions now create calm responses. You feel powerful, feel controlled, feel masterful, feel free, feel successful. Then you stop practicing. Stop creating gap. Stop reframing triggers. Stop using response options. Stop building resistance. Stop maintaining commitment. Week 1, noticeable decline. Gap becomes less automatic. Reframing becomes less natural. Response options become less accessible. Resistance becomes weaker. Control becomes more effortful. Week 2, significant regression. Gap disappears in intense triggers. Reframing fails under pressure. Response options are forgotten. Resistance collapses quickly. Control requires enormous effort. Week 4, major deterioration. Automatic reactions return. Destructive interpretations dominate. Old patterns reemerge. Vulnerability increases dramatically. Hijacking happens frequently. Week 8, near complete return to baseline. React automatically like before. Interpret destructively like before. Respond poorly like before. Get triggered easily like before. Lose control frequently like before. All gains lost. All progress reversed. All mastery disappeared. All control vanished. All freedom abandoned. Back to beginning. Back to reactivity. Back to hijacking. Back to powerlessness. Back to suffering. Through stopping practice. Through abandoning commitment. Through ceasing dedication. Through ending maintenance. Through quitting training. The degradation is automatic, is guaranteed, is inevitable, is mechanical, is devastating, cannot stop practicing, cannot abandon commitment, cannot cease dedication, cannot end maintenance, cannot quit training, must continue forever, must practice permanently, must commit endlessly, must dedicate eternally, must maintain continuously. Daily non-negotiables: maintain mastery, maintain control, maintain immunity, maintain freedom, maintain power. 5 daily practices, 5 permanent commitments, 5 eternal dedications, 5 endless requirements, 5 mandatory habits. Forever, permanently, continuously, endlessly, eternally. Practice 1. Gap creation enforcement. Every triggered moment, every hijacking situation, every reactive impulse, every emotional flood, every provocative event. Create the gap. Create consistently. Create automatically. Create reflexively. Create permanently. Pause 3 seconds before response. Take 3 deep breaths before action. Label emotion before reaction. Every time, every single time, without exception, without excuse, without skip. This daily gap creation maintains neural pathway, maintains automatic pause, maintains response choice, maintains behavioral control, maintains emotional mastery. Skip one day, gap weakens. Skip 1 week, gap disappears. Skip 1 month, automatic reaction returns. Must practice daily. Must create gap constantly. Must enforce consistently. Must maintain permanently. Must commit forever. Practice 2. Reframing practice maintenance. Every destructive interpretation, every automatic negative meaning, every trigger situation, every hijacking event, every reactive moment. Reframe deliberately. Reframe consciously. Reframe systematically. Reframe consistently. Reframe permanently. Ask reframing questions. What else could this mean? How would wisdom interpret this? What's another perspective? Is this worth my peace? What would love do? Every trigger, every time, every situation, every event, every moment. This daily reframing maintains neural flexibility, maintains interpretation choice, maintains meaning control, maintains perspective power, maintains emotional freedom. Skip 1 day, destructive interpretation strengthen. Skip 1 week, automatic meanings dominate. Skip 1 month, rigid perspective cement. Must practice daily. Must reframe constantly. Must question consistently. Must maintain permanently. Must commit forever. Practice 3. Response option utilization. Every triggered moment. Every hijacking situation. Every reactive impulse. Every emotional challenge. Every difficult interaction. Use response menu. Use deliberately. Use consciously. Use strategically. Use effectively. Use permanently. Tactical silence. Strategic questioning. Acknowledgement without agreement. Boundary setting. Delayed response. Humor deflection. Assertive expression. Choose appropriate option. Choose wisely. Choose effectively. Use successfully. Evaluate honestly. This daily option use maintains response flexibility, maintains behavioral choices, maintains interaction effectiveness, maintains relationship success, maintains outcome control. Skip 1 day, options become less accessible. Skip 1 week, old patterns return. Skip 1 month, limited responses dominate. Must practice daily. Must use options constantly. Must apply consistently. Must maintain permanently. Must commit forever. Practice 4. Resistance building continuation. Physical resilience maintenance. Exercise daily 30 minutes minimum. Sleep nightly 7 to 8 hours consistently. Eat healthy meals regularly throughout day. Hydrate adequately all day long. Halt monitoring constantly throughout day. Am I hungry? Eat. Am I angry? Cool down. Am I lonely? Connect. Am I tired? Rest. This daily resistance maintenance sustains physical foundation, sustains emotional capacity, sustains trigger immunity, sustains stress tolerance, sustains response effectiveness. Skip 1 day, vulnerability increases. Skip 1 week, resistance weakens significantly. Skip 1 month, immunity collapses completely. Must practice daily. Must maintain constantly. Must protect consistently. Must sustain permanently. Must commit forever. Practice 5. Reflection and learning continuation. Daily trigger journaling. Daily response evaluation. Daily lesson extraction. Daily improvement identification. Daily growth commitment. Every evening. Every single evening. Without exception. Without excuse. Without skip. Write what triggered. Write how responded. Write what worked. Write what failed. Write tomorrow's commitment. This daily reflection maintains learning momentum, maintains improvement trajectory, maintains growth progression, maintains mastery development, maintains evolution continuation. Skip 1 day, learning stops. Skip 1 week, regression begins. Skip 1 month, old pattern submit. Must practice daily. Must reflect constantly. Must learn consistently. Must improve permanently. Must commit forever. 5 practices. Every day. Forever. Gap creation. Reframing practice. Response options. Resistance building. Reflection learning. No exceptions. No excuses. No skips. No breaks. No vacations. No pauses. No cessations. No endings. Daily. Consistently. Permanently. Endlessly. Eternally. This is price of permanent mastery. This is cost of sustained control. This is requirement of maintained immunity. This is demand of preserved freedom. This is necessity of continued power. Fair price. Reasonable cost. Worthy requirement. Valuable demand. Essential necessity. For mastery. For control. For immunity. For freedom. For power. For peace. For success. For dignity. For relationships. For life. Pay price daily. Maintain mastery permanently. Skip payment. Lose mastery immediately. The exchange is fair. The requirement is clear. The choice is yours. The decision is critical. The commitment is permanent. Choose mastery through permanent practice. Choose control through daily maintenance. Choose immunity through endless dedication. Choose freedom through continuous commitment. Choose power through eternal training. Or choose reactivity through practice abandonment. Choose hijacking through commitment cessation. Choose powerlessness through dedication ending. Choose suffering through maintenance stopping. Choose slavery through training quitting. Your choice, your decision, your commitment, your life, your future. After months of daily practice, transformation occurs. Occurs profoundly. Occurs completely. Occurs permanently. Occurs magnificently. Occurs mysteriously. Transformation from practicing trigger control to being trigger controlled. From creating gap to having gap. From using reframing to being reframed. From applying options to having options. From building resistance to being resistant. From extracting learning to being learned. Practice shaped being. Repetition formed identity. Consistency created essence. Permanence established nature. Dedication transformed character. Commitment evolved self. Daily work built person. Being now dominates. Being now determines. Being now controls. Being now operates. Being now functions. Being now manifests. Being now exists. Being now is. You are not trying to control triggers. You control triggers. Not attempting gap creation. Gap exists automatically. Not forcing reframing. Reframing happens naturally. Not using response options. Options arise intuitively. Not building resistance. Resistance is inherent. Not extracting learning. Learning is continuous. The control is you. The gap is you. The reframing is you. The options are you. The resistance is you. The learning is you. The mastery is you. Automatic. Natural. Effortless. Integrated. Essential. Fundamental. Permanent. Irreversible. This transformation is goal. Is destination. Is achievement. Is mastery. Is freedom. Is power. Is peace. Is success. Through months of building. Through years of practice. Through lifetime of commitment. Through permanent development. Through endless maintenance. Through daily forging. That transforms doing into being. That transforms practice into nature. That transforms building into identity. That transforms behavior into character. That transforms action into essence. That transforms execution into self. Permanently. Completely. Totally. Absolutely. Irreversibly. Magnificently. Powerfully. This transformation is accessible. Is achievable. Is guaranteed. If you commit. If you practice. If you maintain. If you persist. If you endure. If you execute. Daily. Permanently. Forever. Without exception. Without excuse. Without cessation. Through 5 practices. Through gap creation. through reframing, through response options, through resistance building, through reflection learning. Every day, every single day, for months, for years, for a lifetime, for eternity. This creates trigger mastery. This establishes emotional control. This ensures response freedom. This generates personal power. This produces lasting peace. This guarantees life success through permanent practice of trigger mastery that never ends. Trigger mastery is not achievement. Mastery is daily practice. Practice forever or lose control eventually. You have learned 10 principles for trigger mastery. You are emotionally hijacked. Recognize trigger control. Understand hijacking process, 90-second window. Identify personal triggers. Map vulnerabilities. Create the gap, space between trigger and response. Reframe the trigger. Change meaning, change response. Develop response options, beyond react or suppress. Strengthen trigger resistance. Build emotional armor. Use triggers as teachers. Extract growth from pain. Practice trigger immunity. Daily emotional training. Trigger mastery is permanent practice. Control requires daily protection. What matters now is action. Today. Immediately. Starting now. You choose. Continue reacting automatically and suffer forever, or start mastering triggers systematically and achieve freedom permanently. Implementation begins now. Today. This moment. Identify your top 3 triggers right now. Write them down. Commit to gap creation with next trigger today. Pause 3 seconds before any response. Reframe one trigger situation differently today. Ask, what else could this mean? Choose one new response option today from menu. Use deliberately and evaluate honestly. Maintain physical resilience starting today. Exercise 30 minutes. Sleep 7 to 8 hours tonight. Eat healthy meals. Journal triggers tonight. 5 minutes reflection. Document what happened. Document your response. 5 practices daily forever. Gap creation in every triggered moment. Reframing in every destructive interpretation. Response options in every challenging situation. Resistance maintenance through physical care. Reflection learning through daily journaling. No exceptions ever. No excuses allowed. No skips permitted. This creates mastery, creates control, creates immunity, creates freedom, creates power, creates peace. Stop being controlled by emotional triggers permanently. Start mastering your emotional responses systematically. The power awaits your practice. The freedom awaits your mastery. The peace awaits your control. Master triggers through permanent practice, through systematic gap creation, through forever commitment to emotional sovereignty that freedom requires. Beginning now, practicing daily, mastering permanently. Your trigger mastery journey begins today, continues tomorrow, lasts forever, through daily practice, through permanent commitment, through eternal dedication. Begin now. You have learned 10 principles for trigger mastery. You are emotionally hijacked. Recognize trigger control. Understand the hijacking process, the 90-second window. Identify your personal triggers. Map your vulnerabilities. Create the gap, space between trigger and response. Reframe the trigger. Change meaning, change response. Develop response options, beyond react or suppress. Strengthen trigger resistance. Build emotional armor. Use triggers as teachers. Extract growth from pain. Practice trigger immunity. Daily emotional training. Trigger mastery is permanent practice. Control requires daily protection. What matters now is action. Today. Immediately. You choose. Continue reacting automatically and suffer forever, or start mastering triggers systematically and achieve freedom permanently. Implementation begins now. Identify your top 3 triggers today. Practice the 3-second pause with next trigger. Reframe one trigger situation differently. Choose one new response option. Strengthen resistance through sleep and exercise. 5 practices daily, forever. Create the gap in every triggered moment. Reframe destructively interpreted triggers. Use response options beyond react/suppress. Maintain physical resilience. Reflect on and learn from triggers. This creates trigger mastery, creates emotional control, creates relationship success, creates personal power, creates lasting peace. Stop being controlled by emotional triggers. Start mastering your emotional responses. The power awaits your practice. The freedom awaits your mastery. The peace awaits your control. Master triggers through permanent practice, through systematic gap creation, through forever commitment to emotional sovereignty that freedom requires. Beginning now, practicing daily, mastering permanently.